Live and recording. All right, we're live from the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and there's no insurrection happening. This is not far from where I was standing on January 6th. I think I was over there a ways. But hey everybody, it is Jerrod Sessler running for Congress in Washington's 4th District. I'm here in Washington, D.C. for meetings this week. Having a really good time. Love it here in Washington, D.C. Love what this city stands for, and the freedom and the integrity and the strength and the love and just everything that America is, everything that the United States is embodied in what happened right here and what this city stands for. And so for that reason, I love Washington, D.C. There's lots of things you can complain about Washington, D.C., but I definitely love coming here, and I look forward to being here and serving in Congress next year. So one thing I want to talk about, and then we'll take some questions too, but I'm just going to make this brief because we're testing out a new live stream application, is I want to talk about something that really bothers me as a businessman, and it should bother anyone and everyone who owns any kind of a business or operates a household. So anybody in agricultural, in ranching, in manufacturing, in service, restaurants, especially real estate, this should bother you a lot. And what it is this growing sense that I've had over the last few years that for some reason I feel like I'm competing with my government. The very government that is designed to only have its strength and power from our consent is somehow competing with us in our business and in everything. And let me just give you an example of something that's going on right now legislatively that is utterly horrific and needs to stop, and something that I will definitely champion as your representative in Congress. There's a project right now specific to this. It's called the 3030 Project. I don't know if most people have even heard about it, but it's the illegitimate Biden's position that the United States government should own and occupy 1/3 of the land in the United States. I mean, just imagine that, okay? I think it's a huge problem. I personally don't understand why the United States government needs to own any land, any real estate, other than real estate that's needed for legitimate national parks, real estate that's needed for our military, real estate that's needed for our offices, executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. Obviously we need space for that. But in general, that's very little, tiny number of acres across the country. Why is it that the government needs to compete with us? And the land and the real estate is just an example of how the government is competing with us and making business more difficult. It is just like the regulations that the government puts on us, and it's adding difficulty to us being able to operate our businesses. So let me explain why land is just a microcosm example of exactly what the government is doing in other areas. And let me remind us that we have an amazing government that is of consent of the people. The government, I cannot say this often enough, but I really want to, because I want everyone to understand that our government has no power without us. We give government its power through our consent. It should never compete with us because the government is not a person. The government is not an entity. The government should never impede on our ability to do business, whether it's in our free capital business or whether it's our business at home, what we're doing as a family in our homes. The government should not be competing with us, and it should not be making our life more difficult. So specific to this radical, crazy 3030 project, what exactly does it mean? Well, what it means is that the government under this illegitimate administration wants to take about 1/3 of the real estate in the United States and put it under the operating authority and responsibility of the US government. Now, Those of you who have ever dealt with anyone on government lands, you know that it never turns out well. For example, what happens with things like ranchers who used to be able to graze their cattle on government land, and now they're not allowed to do it? What happens to that? For some reason, when the U.S. government takes over that land, all of a sudden now they can't graze their cattle on that land. Oh, by the way, in so doing, they actually reduce the amount of fire hazard because the cattle keep it cleaner. The animals grazing on it actually helps make it less of a fire hazard. But more specific, we're talking about the potential of around 10 large states, entire states, becoming the authority or the ownership, so to speak, of the U.S. government. Why is that? Why does the government need that much land? I disagree with that, and here are some specific reasons why. First of all, who do you think is going to take the biggest hit from this? Is it going to be the coastal cities and the coastal states? Don't be fooled. This is going to come from the heartland. They're going to take all this land right in the heart of the country, all of the agricultural land, all the ranchers, all the farmers. They're the ones who are going to pay the price for this. Think about this. Let's say that there's just say there's 10,000 acres in your town. And let's say that the government came in and took 5,000 acres of that, and they took it and made it federal property. Well, guess what? Now, the tax base for your city, for your state, for your county has just been cut in half because the federal government just took half of that land. So now all the revenue that was coming from that land is no longer coming from that land. The tax base is not coming from that land. So that means the land that you own, you're now going to pay more for because the government just took a significant portion of that land. The revenue that would have come through retail sales tax, through other tax that happens, you just lost all that revenue, and it's going to have to come from somewhere. So it's going to come from the rest of whoever still owns their land there, whoever still owns business there. So the 30-30 plan is a bad plan. It needs to go away, along with pretty much everything that Joe Biden has done since he's been in office. And we need to stand up against that. We need to remember that government only operates under our consent, and we don't give them consent to operate unconstitutionally. So, do we have any questions? Anything anybody wants to talk about in Washington, D.C.? Can you see questions on there?
I can't see questions.
Okay, so we're just learning how to use this this little. Essentially, what we have here is we have an app that allows us to stream to multiple different streams at the same time. So we can go live on here, and allows it to be broadcast on our YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Rumble, all these different platforms at the same time. I just checked with them beforehand, and they said that we would be able to see questions on there.
Yeah, I can't see questions.
I don't see any questions on mine. I do have a receipt from Costco on my phone. So, all right, so there's no questions. I was hoping we were gonna be able to talk about some stuff. We are really excited to be here. Again, we love this city. We love coming here. Jake is with me, my youngest son, on this trip. What happened?
I'm trying to...
Oh yeah, there's Jake.
Oh crap, which way do I turn it? Wait,
there he is.
Oh crap. Yeah, well, that didn't work.
Yeah. Well, we're experimenting, so forgive us for that, but, and Jake needs a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got some meetings with different charities here, some different fundraising groups, and some representatives, and some different things. So excited to be here. We're gonna come back again in a few weeks and do some other stuff. But love Washington D.C., love America, fighting for America, wanting to help to be one of those people to restore America back to its greatness. Remember this: strong America is a leading indicator to a safer world. If you think the world is unsafe right now, it's probably because America is not demonstrating its strength. And I want to be one of those people to bring the strength back to America again. Thank you, everybody.